Hi everybody, my name is Dennis and welcome back to another album review. Today we're reviewing the latest record from producer Gesaffelstein entitled Hyperion. Now, Gesaffelstein tends to be a very dark, heavy producer, and this often is a high risk, high reward kind of style, and that's definitely shown on this album, where he does tend to take a more pop style approach on some songs, like the title track Hyperion, which I thought was very fun, upbeat, and enjoyable intro, which set itself apart from many of the other songs, and the song Blast Off, featuring Pharrell Williams, which I thought was very funky, very fresh, and very enjoyable. I thought Pharrell Williams did a great job with this song, and I think the production, with its very funky, fresh tones, was a real highlight on this album. I thought it was a great song, and probably one of the better tracks Gesaffelstein has put out in a while. But he does keep up this very dark style that he often does. Take, for example, the track Reset, which is very, very dark. It's very gritty. It's very in your face with how beautifully atmospheric it is. It's a very enjoyable, rugged listen that is really unlike anything a lot of producers are doing today. And it is somewhat repetitive. I mean, coming from a producer album, that shouldn't be too much of a surprise that some of the songs can get a little bit repetitive at times. But even with that being said, it's a very fun, dark beat that goes on throughout. And it does have its evolutions that take place, but these evolutions are very subtle. But these subtleties are what make the song really enjoyable in a way. Because really, just the dark atmosphere that goes into it and the slight changes to that atmosphere throughout really make this song great. But unfortunately, he tried to put out the same song twice almost with the song Vortex, which just sounds like a bad remix of Reset. And I was kind of upset with this song because it just sounds like he took the beat of Reset, changed it up a little bit, and almost gave it a space agey feel, but it doesn't really work, and it just is kind of distracting, if anything. I was kind of disappointed with that song overall, just because of how samey it felt, for lack of a better term. It was just really unimpressive. It felt like it was lazily done and just with a few extra sounds thrown on something he had already done previously. I was really disappointed with that one. And on top of that, not every song was a hit. I mean, there were two songs here that were a bit more stripped back, which for a producer album to have a very low-key vibe is a very, very big risk to take. And on the song So Bad, featuring, I believe it's pronounced Haim, this risk does not pay off whatsoever. The beat is essentially not even there. Haim's vocals are bland and flavorless, and it's really just a boring listen overall. I was really frustrated to hear a producer album with such an uneventful, unchanging, unevolving beat and a really boring, unimpressive sound. And again, this is okay, maybe, and for if this was Haim's album, for example, but this is Gesaffelstein's album. It's about the production, and these vocalists are just joining his songs, which makes the very boring, unimpressive production feel like that much worse of a crime, where you're gonna put this lazily shot together this lazily shot together piece of music all together, and it's just really boring. It feels like no effort was put into it, or very little at that. Forever, on the other hand, did take a bit more of a stripped back approach at times, and it's featuring the Hacker and Electric Youth. But the Hacker and Electric Youth have a very, even though it's more soft, it's a very fun and very emotional vocal performance. With Forever, even though it does have its moments where it's stripped back, its moments where it takes a more low-key approach to things, it also knows when to explode into a grandiose beauty. And to me, this is a really great balance. It's okay to have moments where you tone down the production some, but it needs to be balanced with this offset of big, grandiose sounds that go into it. And Forever balances that beautifully. I thought it was done very well, and there was obviously a lot of care put into it, but there was nowhere near as much care put into the song So Bad. I was really, really upset with that one. From there, we have the song Memora, I believe, which is kind of just there. It doesn't really do anything wrong, but it doesn't really do anything all that right either. It's fine, but it's just nothing amazing. The song "Lost in the Fire" featuring The Weeknd is probably one of the weaker featured vocals on the album. It's okay. I mean, The Weeknd is The Weeknd with his poor lyricism and a voice that I've kind of grown stale. He doesn't really do anything new with his vocal inflection here. I know it's not the Weeknd song, and the beat is fine. The beat's honestly not that bad, but the Weeknd, he just doesn't do anything for the song. I think this would have been Lost in the Fire would have been a lot better as just a beat. And overall, the beats weren't that bad though, because they do differ from time to time. Like I said, we have the very upbeat, lively, fun songs like Hyperion and Blast Off. And then we have the very dark, brooding tracks like Reset. But then what really caps the album off for me, that really does make me enjoy this just that much more, is the concluding song, Humanity Gone. And it is a 10, almost 11-minute piece. But it really encapsulates everything this album puts together up to this point. It has its very glistening, beautiful, soft, serene moments that are very pop almost. But then it also goes into the dark, strange, gritty, unsettling moments that also plague this album. And it balances and goes through these motions at a very slow but very thoughtful pace, and it's really just a mesmerizing experience. Now, again, it is almost 11 minutes, so it will take up a decent amount of time for a single track, but it's a pretty captivating listen if you ask me. It's definitely not going to be the kind of thing everyone jumps into loving, but I think it's a really mesmerizing transition through the various sounds. And for an album that tends to repeat itself a good amount of times, Humanity Gone is a very unique listen through every phase of it, because it does go through multiple phases that are pretty distinct but still blend together and transition very smoothly, to where you almost don't notice the transition till it's already happened. And I think Humanity Gone really is the peak of this album, not necessarily because it's the best track, but because it's the best representation of this album. If you want to get a feel for the album as a whole, just listen to this 10-minute track, because it really does take everything into consideration when going into this, and I think that's a very difficult thing to pull off that was done really well. And I was really impressed when I heard this song about how much was put into it, because granted, it is 10 minutes again, but it feels like so much less time, yet it also feels like so much more. It goes by quickly because of how captivating it is, but it also feels like so much because there's so many different sounds, there's so many different styles, there's so many different tones that go into this, and it just is a very impressive listen. And it was really I think the saving grace for this album. It was really the saving grace from this album that made it from okay to actually surprisingly good. Again, this isn't anything to phone home about, but it is a good listen. There are plenty of solid, enjoyable tracks on here, and really not that many horrible tracks. Granted, there are a few weak points here and there, but it's a fun, sexy listen. And overall, I'm feeling a light 7. Be sure to check it out. It's not going to blow you away, more than likely, but it's enjoyable nonetheless. Again, make sure to give it a try. You may not love it, but it has its moments for sure. That I think almost anyone can at least pick out one song from here that's enjoyable. So with that being said, be sure to tell me how wrong my opinion is as always, and I will see you in the next review.